Welcome to Leadership and People. This is a series that pulls back the curtain on leadership by interviewing CEOs, senior executives, and entrepreneurs who have had large exits. We ask these experts about how they built trusted networks to rapidly grow their companies and what advice they wish they knew if they could do it all again. Today on the show, we've got Ryan Sanders.
In fact, one of the key things for our success has been over the last several years, we've come up with an annual theme to kind of rally the company around. The year that we saw some really impressive growth and some exciting changes inside of our organizations was when we focused on execution, and we had this mantra of choose, focus, finish, repeat.
Co-founder and COO of Bamboo HR. Ryan, thanks for making time.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, Jess.
So you guys, for people who don't know you, been around 10 years, almost 12,000 customers. You're in 100 countries. I think your stuff is translated into 11 languages. Anything I'm leaving out there for major wins for the company?
Oh, it's a great start.
So when you think about the show here, Leadership and People, you guys have a bit of a different approach to business. Can you talk about that approach and in your mind how that relates to leadership and people?
You bet. So, one of the things for us that's essential, obviously, is people, and it's easy to say. It's one of those things that's been talked about, given lip service to over years and years. You'll see it in all kinds of management and leadership books and articles. But we really try to put that practice to work and actually have bet on this as part of the way that we grow a business. Our focus is we definitely emphasize not only just the people aspect and making sure that people are important and feel valued and can contribute and are engaged in the work, but that they know that we care about them. That it is we know that the individuals are the ones that are achieving the various our various objectives and goals, and we want to make sure we give them the right time and right attention, and make sure they know that they're cared for.
So you're right. There are a lot of people that talk about that, and it is easy to pay lip service to it. I get this sense that you guys have maybe taken it to the next level a little bit. Are there some examples that you can share with us?
Yeah, so I guess there's a few things that we think about a lot. From the communication aspect, we're big on the idea of crucial conversations. A lot of the folks here have read the book Crucial Conversations, but we actually put it into practice. Not only in our kind of day-to-day, but we've implemented that as part of our core values. So we have two core values that tie into this. One is assume the best, and the second is be open. Assume the best is for us critical in that if somebody says something in a meeting or in a presentation that is offensive or frustrating or whatever, we kind of take the approach that, hey, everybody's trying to do the right thing. Let's start from there, that assumption, but still go have the conversation. And then that's where be open comes in, which is, Jess, if you and I are in a meeting and you said something crazy and I'm freaking out, and then, it's on me to afterwards to pull you aside and say, hey, Jess, you said this and it felt like this, or it made me think this, what's going on? And 9 times out of 10, it's just an interpretation. It's something that got miscommunicated or a misunderstanding. And rather than me just sitting there getting frustrated and wound up over this thing, you and I have a chance to talk, and we kind of nip it in the bud right from the beginning. And we encourage these conversations all over the organization. We try to live them. I had one just a couple of days ago with a guy who I thought was really frustrated with me, and it turned out it was nothing. He didn't even realize he was kind of looking at me weird, and he apologized, and now we kind of joke about it, that he gives me an extra big smile when I walk by him in the hall. So it's that is really foundational, because we kind of, again, another one of our bets, or one of the premises of how we do business, is that most problems in business are communication problems. So that's one big one for us. Another one is, we try to think of benefits and things that help employees. We've done a couple of different things that are somewhat unique. There are a few others that do it, but they're really important to us because of what we hope that it accomplishes. One is we offer a paid vacation. Basically, it's a bonus bonus, kind of reimbursement for taking a vacation. So we hope that people go make memories with the people they loved. And as long as the employee's on the vacation, we don't care if you take grandma or your spouse or your kids, or you go with your brother or sister or whatever. So we've had people take amazing trips all over the world, or even just here in Utah, just experiencing new things and making those memories. And could we put those dollars in another kind of benefit program? Sure, but we feel like these kind of memories that people make when they're on vacation are the things that hold the glue that holds relationships together. So that's just a couple.
Yeah, so that's a really interesting one. What are the parameters? What are the rest of the details on that?
Yeah, so it is taxed like a bonus, but basically, if it's plane tickets, cruise tickets, hotel, restaurants, things like that, you turn in up to $2,000, and we'll kind of we'll do that bonus out, and the only thing we don't do are like sunscreen and Bermuda shorts. Those are on you to pay for. So but it's one of those great opportunities. We've seen people take longer vacations because of it, or explore kind of different areas of the world that this world's an amazing world. So it's fun to watch people go explore it and have exposure to new and exciting cultures, and then come back refreshed and ready to go, and so that they're eligible for that every year.
That's awesome. Well, another thing I want to talk about is we were chatting for just a minute before getting going here about this being your 10th year in business. And, you know, according to the entrepreneurial stats, with this being your first business, you probably shouldn't be lasting this long, statistically, right?
Sure.
And I want to talk about something that you brought up earlier about maybe having a little bit of not having quite the same focus on the almighty dollar that maybe other entrepreneurs have. And if you feel like that's part of the reason you've lasted so long, or any insights you have about maybe why you've beat the entrepreneurial statistics as opposed to other folks.
Yeah, well, it's a really great question, and I certainly, there's always an element, at least in my opinion, there's always an element of luck for any entrepreneur that's successful. Kind of the right time, right place, and definitely there's an element of that. When we started in 2008, for small to medium business, there weren't a lot of options for HR software online, and so we kind of fit into a really nice niche that has proved to be successful. So there's an element of that. There's an element of luck, even in just running across wonderful entrepreneurs here in Utah that have been very kind with their time, and sharing thoughts and ideas even as we're just getting started. Um, but the other thing for us is, we Ben and I didn't start this to make money. We started it because we wanted to work together. We started it because we felt like we wanted to be able to create a great product and serve our customers exceptionally well. And at the end of the day, it all kind of boils down to create an enduring great company. That kind of alignment from the get-go and for the last 10 years has never wavered. And it is awesome to be able to come to work every day, have a partner I'm totally aligned with, and not worry, if he's trying to do something wonky, or if he's excited to take the business in a particular direction that that maybe we don't agree on. So that it creates a foundation for our partnership that permeates through the organization, and people know, one, that we're a couple of goofballs, but two, that we care very deeply about the product we're building, and very deeply about our customer, and we absolutely love our team. So that focus is interesting because we end up making long-term decisions rather than short-term decisions. We still, make plans and figure out what we want to commit to quarter by quarter, but we're always looking for the long term because we just plan on being around. We're not trying to flip it. We're not trying to go public. We're not trying to raise a bunch of money. We're trying to do the right thing and grow in the ways that make sense, and place certain things like culture and people at the top of the list when it comes to the decisions we make, rather than rather than, hey, how do we just juice revenue numbers?
So, what's an example of where that might show up?
We've, it 10 years, you hear some wonderful, wonderful stories of companies who've just had incredible hockey stick growth in both revenue and employees in the first 2 or 3 years. There have been many times where we've sat down. In fact, one specific example is when we sat down and at one point and we said, hey, we could go hire 100 sales reps today. And I think we were probably around 25, 30 sales reps at the time. And we said, no, we can't absorb that as an organization right now. And so, we made a more conservative hiring projection and went and executed against that. But we chose, sales reps, at least for us, because of the way our marketing machine works and some other things, sales reps equal additional revenue for the organization. But we recognized very, very quickly that that would start to shake and maybe slowly destroy some of the foundations we've built. And so we chose to grow a little slower in an effort to preserve those things.
And so, and so, how many? By the way, how many staff are you at total?
We're at about 400 employees now.
And so, how does that impact the way you're creating the product? This HR product for small and medium businesses online.
Well,
Having
it's interesting.
going through the growth yourself.
Yeah, it's interesting because it really again forces you to make really wise decisions when you have those constraints. There's a lot more creativity that comes to play. Those constraints on number of employees, and so we have to get really smart about what we choose to do, and we make sure we get those things done, and then move on to the next thing. So there's that allows for additional creativity, additional planning, and then just laser focus. Um, in fact, one of the key things for our success has been over the last several years we've come up with an annual theme to kind of rally the company around. Um, the year that we saw some really impressive growth and some exciting changes inside of our organizations was when we focused on execution, and we had this mantra of choose, focus, finish, repeat, and that CFFR mantra was one that everybody across the organization repeated. And it was this idea that you might see in a book like uh, uh, I'm trying to think of what the book was. I'm freezing here.
Don't
Um,
worry,
but
it'll come to you
you
as soon as
see,
the interview's over.
gotcha. um, it's the gosh, I can't even remember the name of the book. I'm so excited about
Can
it.
you repeat those words again? You said them kind of fast. I just want to.
Yeah, choose, focus, finish, repeat.
Okay.
And so the idea is you prioritize well, and you make a selection of which thing you need to do. Then you focus on that thing, and then you actually get it done, get it across the finish line. Because we tend to feel like we're moving lots of initiatives forward inches instead of feet or miles. And if we focus on just a handful of initiatives, that we get those things done, and then we're able to benefit from those things going forward. And so that kind of discipline is one of those things that it's hard to explain how important that is and how much that's had an impact on us. Because we used to be in the mode of let's start a whole bunch of things, and we get them done, we get some done, but they take a long time. But when we're focused as an organization, then on a handful of things, then those things become really powerful.
Yeah. You know, this idea of putting people first and building a culture, it's obviously something that people talk about like crazy. Is there a time that you can think of where that was a hard decision, or can you think of like an instance when the constraints of the business were really giving you some pushback on make the money or stick to the purpose there?
No, fortunately, we've just been aligned from the beginning, so that it's never been an issue. The interesting thing has been when we have new folks join the organization, especially what we call the broad-shouldered folks, where it's kind of senior leadership and things like that, where they come in and they come from organizations that only focus on the revenue and don't take the whole picture into account. It's at those times that we've had to have some conversations and explain why we feel like this is the path that we want to follow. That this strategy is one that'll work. Again, we've certainly been lucky or fortunate or blessed, but at the same time, we feel like that there's an awful lot of balance when we focus on those things first, rather than just revenue. And the revenue ultimately is an output anyway. It's an output of whatever we do. And so, fortunately, it feels like we've grown in a, all the while continuing to focus on these things.
Yeah. So, you know, humans and changing is something a lot of, it's not always a comfortable thing, right? So I'm interested with these folks who've been successful in the past, maybe with some different habits, when they come over and things are different. Can you talk about any things that you do or any of your leadership philosophy to help them maybe pave some new roads over old ruts?
Yeah, wow, that is a great question. And frankly, it's an area that we need to continue to do better in. We, a lot of people when they come over, in all parts of the organization, they come over and they see kind of our mission, they see our vision, they see our values, and they're like, yeah, those are cute, those are nice. We've heard great things about bamboo, but we'll see if they actually live it. And then we'll get emails just out of the blue. Ben and I will, just like I've been here for 2 months, and I just want you to know that it's the real deal. And those are some of the most humbling kinds of feedback that we can get, because it's our greatest desire that we are true, that we do have some integrity as far as what we say we value, and then how we actually behave. Um, so those things are one of those things that we just treasure and cherish, because it's actually working. But when those don't happen, when there are kind of bumps up against the culture or up against the values, um, then we have to have conversations. So, it's those crucial conversations that are so essential, where I can sit down with a senior leader who might have found success in another organization and say, hey, the reason that we don't do it that way here is this, rather than just say, hey, we don't want to change. We want to be open to those kinds of things, because we want all the goodness that anybody can bring from anywhere else. But we'll sit down and say, here's the reason why. Let's talk about it more. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? And why are you feeling like you're not finding success here? Or why are you feeling like there's a better way? And if there is a better way, let's adapt, which fits perfectly into one of our other values, which is grow from good to great. We believe very firmly in that on both a personal and a professional level.
Any tips for the rest of us leaders who maybe feel like we worked hard to get this our way, and maybe we want to become more humble in listening to the ideas of new folks in the organization?
That's a hard one, because I like to be right, but sometimes that
Yeah,
gets
me
away.
too. Me too, apparently.
It gets in the way of listening. I found that, when somebody will propose something or share something that they feel like needs to change, and I'm kind of stuck in my rut, so to speak, then what I've got to, I found it really helpful to actually write down what it is that they're seeing and why that's important to them. Like, literally crack open a Google Doc and start to write it down. There's a power in not just talking about it, but in actually seeing it together and then talking through it, at that point. I find when I do that, and when I allow, and I'll explain to individuals as I'm sitting down, this is what I'm doing. So it's not like, I'm not trying to surprise them or trick them and win them over just to my idea, but it helps them understand that I'm truly trying to understand. Um, so, there's Ben actually has a great quote on his wall. It says that, we need to make sure that we're listening to understand rather than to respond. Um, and that's something that we think about a lot. And it's something that I've trying to, especially this year, just tried to practice a lot, because I can have some of those natural tendencies to think, hey, my way is the right way. But there's something magical about having a document open where, clear statement of the problem or clear statement of the opportunity, and then talk through it from that perspective. Because often in conversation we get lost, and we start to argue emotion, um, or start to exclude facts, and then there's not an opportunity to kind of let the best idea win.
So I'm really interested in this idea of working on it. You know, we're all familiar with how meaningful repetitions build the new neural pathways and the 10,000 hours and, all this kind of books about habits in the business literature, right? I'm interested what that looks like for you. Is it something you think about before the conversation? Is it through a conversation you're monitoring yourself and asking, am I listening for understanding or am I listening to respond? Is it evaluation afterwards, or what does it look like for you to work on
Yeah,
that?
yeah, it's kind of an ever present thing. A few years ago, I got some again, in another crucial conversation, I got some feedback from one of our recruiters, and she said, "Ryan, we need you to think out loud. Please think out loud." I thought, "What do you mean?" She said, I can tell that you're thinking about it. And I know that your personality is one that you need time to process and to think of your response. But there's times when it really makes sense for you to share your raw and unfiltered opinions. And it was really insightful for me to learn that. And she even gave me a little post-it note that said PTO, please think out loud. And I stuck that on my monitor. And ever since then, I've done similar things where if there's something I'm trying to work on, like the listening, then I make sure that that's it's either on a post-it note or it's on a goal, where I put my goals, and it's just something that's ever present. Because of that, I use every single opportunity to practice. And now that doesn't mean that I get it right from the start of the conversation, but I will catch myself, and then work on it. If I don't, and there are the occasions where I don't even, I just kind of bull rush through a conversation. I feel like one of the things I do to help me stay committed to this is I'll let the person know and apologize that I didn't listen. So I try to, send them an email, or next time I see them, I'll catch them and just say, "Hey, I didn't do a very good job at this, and I apologize, and I'll do better." And so
What's
because I
their
don't like,
reaction?
they're usually surprised. Get a note from me and be like, I don't know that you need to apologize. So, but for me, it's important because I want to know them, that I want them to know that I value them, and that I'm working on these things. And nobody likes to apologize, so it's a good reminder for me to be careful during my conversations.
That's awesome. Well, I think this is a great place to end part one of the interview. Um, so everybody, please tune back in. We're going to be asking Ryan a bunch more of these kind of questions. Learn how to become humble. I like it.
Hi, my name is Logan Wilkes and I'm the CEO of Corporate Alliance. A few years ago, I moved to San Diego to build a new market for us there. The biggest deterrent I had to success was I didn't know a soul. I often thought to myself, if I just had a thriving network or influence, this would go 100 times faster. To be honest with you, I had never felt so alone in my life because A, I didn't have an influence, and B, I didn't know anyone that was going through the same thing that I was. If you have ever felt like this and you are looking to grow your influence, join us at one of our upcoming events. You can check us out at corporatealliance.net and request an invite to one of our upcoming experiences.